Hey Kim, how are you?
Very good. How are you doing, Scott?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you for setting up the time for the interview and thanks for being here on time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and I'm super excited to connect with you and hopefully share the value that you would like to provide with everyone. And my job here is to, again, facilitate that process. And I want to make sure that my audience and the viewers right now can learn as much as they possibly can, especially when a lot of time has freed up and we're kind of in a weird situation right now. And hopefully, this will be something where it can open a couple doors or opportunities for people to kind of be like, okay, this may add more to my life, or maybe it may not. So, thank you so
Okay.
much everyone to view. And thank you, Scott, for joining us today.
Yeah, you're very welcome, Matt. I guess let's just start off with some of the questions either yourself or your viewers have been having. Of course, in the arena of sales, in the arena of any, especially what to do in the current market climate. So I'll let you, yeah, let me know whatever people are curious about.
Definitely. So, just to kind of get things warmed up before we get into the secret sauce of the whole video, is uh, by default, and maybe not by the normal person, but sales is number one skill, in my opinion. It may differ from people, but I think the highest paid skill in the whole world is sales.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that point because with sales, there's no ceilings, right? So the only ceiling is set by the amount you can produce. And if you create a team or you create a business, like the thing a lot of people don't or tend to forget or don't like to acknowledge is that anytime that there's an interaction between one person and another person, it's generally a sale, even if you're not actually selling something, because you're still walking them maybe through your idea, maybe you're walking them through a little bit on your thought process or getting them to do something, but you're still selling whatever it is you're having the conversation about too. So like teachers sell their students on paying attention in classrooms, doctors sell their patients on following their advice and taking their medication. So yeah, everything comes down to a sale. But even as a salesperson in the exact context, you go and you sell a few $5 million homes as a realtor, you're making far more money. You made more money in a week than that doctor just made in his entire past 2 years, right? So uh, not having any ceilings is great, but there's also no floors, so it's kind of the catch 22 of the industry.
Definitely, man. I totally agree with you. And crazy enough, there's many people will not agree with what I'll say, but I truly believe that the greatest salespeople in the world are children.
Oh, of course, absolutely. Because if you think about it, how many times, and I'm not a parent, you're not a parent, but I still remember back when I was a little kid, like I was incessant, I was unstoppable. And like you look at any kid in a toy store, they're leaving with a toy. If the parent has brought the kid to the toy store, a toy is somehow getting in that kid's hands, even if the parent has no money, doesn't want to spend it, because kids don't stop. Kids are amazing, and it's hard to say no to kids because a lot of times parents know they don't know any better, but
Yes.
kids just don't accept no. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that 110%. So
Awesome. That's super awesome to get that perspective from a sales expert as such as yourself. And it's crazy because on a marketing standpoint, especially when the Christmas season starts, that what they'll do, and this is really crazy, is they'll get a toy and they'll promote it, they'll advertise it. But what they'll do is they'll actually only produce a quarter of what they intended to produce, so that when they build up the hype, it's in limited quantity, so that scarcity breeds value, so that when you go to that store and parents come to pick up that toy that the kids have been nagging them about during the commercials, they're all out. So that now that they're getting guilt trip because of their kids saying, Dad, you promised me you would get that superhero action figure. Where is it? So now they're like, oh shit. Now they're taking advantage of that guilt, that like you're that parental figure that wasn't able to provide that certain toy. So what they'll do is that they'll take that toy and they'll build that hype for next Christmas. And then they'll say, this is the new action figure, but then there'll also be limited quantities. So what it is they're getting elevated to scarcity, so that that guilt is being built up. So now they're forced to buy the next toy, and then they'll release another toy that's an alternative, so that at least they'll be able to fulfill some desires with their kids. But then their kids will be like, but I wanted that toy. So now they're like, okay. So this is the kind of things that I've noticed that is a marketing trend, especially for the Christmas holidays. So it's crazy how marketing and sales can tie in with the Christmas holidays. It's very, very powerful, and it's something that sneaks up on us that we don't even know about.
Absolutely. And marketing isn't quite as much my area of expertise, sales, but the one thing that I feel like those marketing elements do really well is they build the value of it through, and they have to leverage scarcity to do that, but they get the kid excited, they put it there, and then they take it away immediately, which builds the scarcity and shoots the value through the roof. So they're guaranteed a certain amount of sales. So when production goes up, the sales are going to follow. Now, and that's one of the core elements of any good sale is you really have to take that time to establish the value, especially if you're trying to sell products, trying to sell service. If the person doesn't find it valuable, they're not going to buy it. So, and that's why my own personal belief is marketing is the other side of the coin of sales, because you really need to get the people enticed, the people interested, and establish the value in order to get them through the doors. Someone's not coming through your door, you're probably not selling it to them unless you're picking up the phone and calling them. But they don't know who you are, they don't know what value you provide, all that. It's going to be a harder sell. So
Definitely.
yeah.
And another question for you, Scott, is in consideration of the viewers right now, and especially for those who are currently unemployed, and definitely it's a hard time to find ways where we can get income. How would sales apply to your everyday man or woman in order to get side money going, or at least motivate them to say like, hey, there's still potential, that money has not disappeared, it's simply shifted. So what steps can they take to at least make their first sale so that they can get some momentum going, getting some side money in? Because of course we have bills to pay and people are scared about what the future is going to be financially. How does sales correlate to what would benefit the everyday man or woman?
Well, because sales are the backbone of any general value exchange interaction, which is what we take a lot of time to teach on, is the value exchange. The most important step is to first establish your objective. What is my objective with this interaction? What is my objective with this conversation? Am I trying to sell a product? Am I trying to sell a service? Am I trying to sell my employability as an employee because I've been laid off? Am I trying to sell a business idea to a possible investor that's losing all their money because the stocks are crashing? What is my core objective? Once you've identified your objective, now you need to look, what value am I providing? And who do I want to provide it to? So is my value a product? Great. Okay, what's the value of that product? What are the features? What are the benefits? How can that help people? How can that add value to people? And how can it do it better than my competitors? Or at least, how can I present it in a way that that's perceived? If it's a service, okay, what service do I offer people? Is that valuable right now? What do I want to charge for that? Is that in correlation to value? Or if you're in the third category and you're trying to increase your employability, what is my value as an employee? What are my skill sets? What are my qualifications? What does my resume look like? And what type of industry am I trying to participate in? And who am I competing against? And more importantly, because everybody has free time right now because we're all locked in our houses, what am I doing to increase my value or the value of my product or service? Am I just sitting here watching Netflix or hurrying into the screen and hoping to God someone likes my resume? Or am I building my skill set? Am I building my knowledge base? Am I studying? Am I reading good books? Am I listening to good podcasts, good audios? Or because like if you're not increasing your value, the likelihood of getting picked drops every day because a lot of people are out there increasing their value. If I'm not refining my product, refining my service, finding better ways to serve people, finding better ways to deliver my product, more accessible ways, more affordable ways, in keeping with the current climate, I'm going to die because everybody else is going to pop up like a weed in my garden and they're going to suck out all the water and all the money. There's still no shortage of money. The government's handing out thousands of dollars to almost everybody and their dog. It's just people have a scarcity mentality right now because of hoarders, because of it's basically a big shakeup from all these established social constructs. So, yeah, so just to kind of touch back on those 3 points, first, establish your objective. That's your most important thing. If you don't have an objective, everything else falls flat. You can have the most valuable lamp on the planet, but if you don't have an objective with it, what's it doing? It's going to sit there and do nothing. Once you've established your objective, what value am I going to add? What is my value? And then do I need to increase it, or do I need to refine it, or do I need to present it differently? So objective, value, and strategy. Those are the 3 points.
Okay, definitely.
I know it's a long-worded answer, but I hope that answers your question.
No, that's an amazing question. It's very thorough, and it definitely is very informative in terms of how that would apply, or how that would strategize in terms of a sales process, and especially with the daily man or woman, it's like, okay, how do we get our first sale? Because let's say, for example, we're unemployed and we currently don't have any means of like what to sell. So I've learned a little bit about marketing from Mitch Miller himself. And if you haven't heard of Mitch Miller, he's one of the best marketing people
Yep.
up to date right now. And he's learning from multimillionaires. And essentially, money hasn't disappeared, money just simply transferred. And if you want to know what services or products you can sell currently, it's just look at what the human needs are,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you can observe what people are currently buying, what people are currently, and mainly what it is comfort. It's comfort from that fear. And an example can be food. So in order to have that escape, people would want to buy baked goods such as donuts, cakes, bread, or even food. And it's an escape from reality. So what you can do is, okay, well, not necessarily I would call myself a baker, but what you can do is you can help bakers resell those products. You can help them affiliate by getting a cut for every cake you sell or every donuts you can sell, and you can even do like a little bit of delivery. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, regardless of the FDA and all that kind of stuff, like you got to do what you got to do to make that money, even if it's an extra dollar or $2. Like
Yep.
you have to live, you have to survive. So how would that entail for your everyday person for sales in order to increase that revenue or increase that profitability? Because if again tying down to like food or like delivery, how can they better create and maximize profit for these kind of things? So if they were to able to sell the demands or needs of human nature,
Mm-hmm.
how can they increase that profit so that at least they have something to keep them surviving in this economic climate?
Well, I guess to start off, especially because you mentioned this is catered towards people who are just getting started in the sales industry, you need to have something to sell. You need to have a product or you need to have a service or something. There has to be something that you deliver or provide to people in exchange for currency. You can train up your sales skills all you want, but if you don't have anything to sell, you can have amazing marketing, but if you don't have any product at the back end, there's nothing there to exchange for currency. So first and foremost, you have to have something to sell. So when you follow those first 3 points I mentioned, objective, value, and strategy, that'll give you an idea of kind of what kind of product or what kind of service you need to create or acquire or affiliate with to sell. Now, once that's established, the best advice I can give is do research. Do really good research. I mean, like we have so much time right now. You know, what are the biggest hashtags on Instagram right now? What are the biggest search results on Google? Like if you go in Google and you type something, the top 10 search results are what 90% of the people are searching. It's very easy to grab this quick research and just put in some quick words. You know, if you want to sell, let's say bagels, type in
Okay.
bagel, see what pops up. Type in your local area, bagel, see what pops up. Check out hashtags for bagels. Check it out in your local area. Where is the attention? Where are the eyes focused, and how can I get my product in front? Great. Once you've taken some time to establish that strategy, or maybe partnering with a really good marketing firm, because there's a lot of marketing firms. I know yourself, you really emphasize getting in front of the right people. Anybody that would partner with that service would easily be able to get their product or service in front of the right people at this right time. And so first off, have something to sell, and then do some good research, and finally just have a way to get it in front of the right people. That in itself will increase your leads. Now, having a lot of leads is great if you know how to convert them. And if you don't know how to convert them, well, now you got to work on your salesmanship a little bit as well too. But the important part is starting to get the leads, because now you can have contacts, you can have leads, you can run data, you can practice, you can refine your skill set, you can read good books, you can tap into some of our programs and our resources that we're offering as well too. And there's a lot of ways to start sharpening your axe. And so because it's something starting from scratch, you may mess up 10 sales interactions, but if you learn something, now you can go forward. But without that other stuff first, you're just going to spin your tires if you're trying to have conversations with people.
Definitely, man. And that's a very, very good point that you make, because sharpening your axe, aka your skills, is the most important thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And with sales veterans and experienced people, I'm gonna help you guys out in a bit. But with your everyday person, this is something that you can really tap into and realize, okay, this is something, and you not necessarily have to be a salesperson, but you can at least refine your skills with these kind of processes in terms of having the right conversations, having the right people to reach out to, and seeing how you can exchange the service or product that you have that can properly benefit the person that you're trying to deliver to. Because at the end of the day, there's always going to be a need that needs to be uncovered through a solution that you have. So an exchange is always going to be something that's accessible depending on what you're trying to provide.
Yeah.
So I don't want this to be something where your non-salesperson or non-business person should be discouraged, but I want this to be something where you can actually have your mind open to, so that at least you have something that's at least growing and coming to fruition. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
And I mean, like, even for people that don't want to participate in sales directly by selling a product or service, or don't want to, start a company or try and do something that way. I mean, look at your own personal life. Like, okay, what skill sets can I build myself? What is my strategy? How do I want to approach prospective employers? Do I want to do volunteer work so I'm at least on their radar? Like, what are the steps I'm going to take to set myself apart from the rest of my competition and sell myself, sell my resume, sell my employability? Because there's a lot of people that tune into this that, they like being an employee. They like having that 9 to 5. They like having that static job. And I don't personally believe there's anything wrong with that. But strategy is very important because you're still selling yourself to them. So what books can I read to improve my skill set? What are some online courses or some, physical courses I can take right now that I can put on my resume to improve my employability? Let's look at ways that we can increase our value to create that sale. And then how do we get in front of the right people? It still applies even to employment, the same as it would for marketing a product. Who are what employers resonate with my values? What are they doing for their people in times of crisis? And now's a great time to see that. Do they lay off all their staff and fire them immediately, or do they try and find ways to plug them into work? What kind of person do you want to trade your time to? Who do you want to give your time to? Do you want to give it to a company that's just going to axe you the minute things go bad? Or do you want to give it to somebody that's going to try and keep you employed? Do you want to give it to somebody that's going to compensate you well consistently? Or do you want to give it to somebody that, at the end of the day, if they need to cut a little bit off the bottom line, you're the first person to get the cut? Take some time to research this, identify this, and then create your approach. What skill sets do they hire? What skill sets are they looking for, and apply there? And then for your salespeople and your entrepreneurs, just like I mentioned before, what products and services are moving? What value can you create and provide to people, and how are you going to get in front of those people and talk to them?
Definitely, and those are some really good points for anyone at any skill level. And if you have any more extra questions on how you can get started or what you can do in terms of doing a sales process and getting your feet wet in the process, like feel free to give us a message, any of us, me or Scott. The link should be below, and you can figure out ways where you can actually dip your feet into the sales industry and how that can apply to your life, and how can that leverage new levels and new heights that you've never even imagined you could do. So tying into veterans or people who have a sales background, car dealerships, retail, cell phones, anything of that matter. So tying into that topic, how this would pertain to your current sales entrepreneurs. And before we dip into that, I just want to make sure that you guys are one of the most hardworking people I've ever met. Sales is not an easy thing, and
No.
I give props to those who are in that sales industry, because you guys, it's high risk, high reward, and it has a lot to do with a lot of the internal game and internal matter, where it's like, okay, I don't want to feel like I'm salesy, or I don't want to feel like people are judging me because I'm that annoying team cult kind of person, or whatever the matter is. But at the end of the day, you are providing a service that people need help with, and if you don't do your job, you're not helping the people that you want to do. And I want you guys to know that you're not alone with that. And I'm even, for me, I'm experiencing that as veteran salespeople. Is that, yes, it is scary. Sales is a scary thing. That's why not many people do it. But because you guys are the forefront of a business or a company, you guys are the most important assets, in my opinion, that comes down to running a proper business. So let that not be a discouragement, but a motivation for you guys to continue on what you're doing. And this is like the most profitable and yet most self-fulfilling uh, career or approach you can do in your life. So thank you guys again for tuning in and listening to what we have to share. But salespeople have my utmost respect.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that because like the one thing about a sales career, especially if it's a commission-based sales career, is it forces you first to really identify your own flaws and your own shortcomings and find ways around them. So it can be a lot more punishing for a lot of people in the industry because it really you have to get better or you don't eat. That's what it comes down to. So a lot of people in the sales world, there's I've in my experience now, I've been in sales for close to 12 years. I've worked with over
Wow.
10 companies. I've run a few myself, and I've helped train probably close to over 100 salespeople at this point. And there's generally like two demographics of salespeople I've encountered. You have the people that focus on tactics. They want the magic beans. They want the simple conversation like flow that's just going to get them the sale every time. And then you have the people that are constantly developing, they're learning new skills, they're finding new ways to connect with people, they're finding new ways to talk about products and whatnot. It's always that second category that rises to the top, and the first category that weirds people out, like your typical used car salesman vibe. Um, Now, it's not to say that there's anything bad with topics or having a conversation or tactics or having good conversation flow. Those are very important. It's just with no proper calibration and no proper value focus, it kind of falls short. So one of the biggest things that I think a lot of people should really focus on in sales and more now so more than ever because all of the societal constructs are gone is how am I adding value to the person in front of me? Is it my product? Is it my service? Have I made sure this is the right product? Have I made sure that this is going to add the best value to this person? And if not, what am I going to do to help them feel like it will? Or what other services or products do I have to ensure that it does? And I feel like a lot of salespeople to this day still fall short on this because they're just trying to sell and push the product and get the numbers on the paper and get the metrics and go for the how many closes can I get? And I mean, a close is great if it doesn't turn into a return, but a close is better if it turns into 10 closes later because that person absolutely loves your service. So, and these are the questions I really want a lot of salespeople right now to ask themselves and work on. Like you hear it from all the greats. You hear from Grant Cardone and Ty Lopez, even a lot of people in the leadership field like Maxwell. It's all about serving first. The service has to come first. You have to be serving the person. The compensation comes after the fact. If there's no service, there's no compensation. So I really hope people right now are taking a lot of time to shift their minds from how can I get compensated to how can I serve. And that's where people are going to start to see that frame shift where they're going to get more closing ratios, more retention, less customers churning, going to other companies. They'll get higher profitability for each of their sales if their core focus is serving that person.
Definitely. And serving the person is the most overlooked frame idea and frame shift that most salespeople have in the industry. And I don't blame you guys. You're not alone. And I've even been there too. And I've had my moments where I have switched to that focus. But the key point here is to make sure that like, okay, why? What is your why? Okay, of course,
Yep.
don't get me wrong. You want to make that money, you want to make the profit. Yes, I understand. But in the grand scheme of things, this is a huge exchange of value with your services. And if you really focus on serving things, and then let's use friendship, for example.
Mhm.
Uh, when you do an exchange with a friend, right, it's very personal because you are out there because you want their best of their well-being. You want what's best for them. So you tend to get a lot of reciprocation back and a lot of things where they'll even like tip you, they'll give you the extra money, or they'll take care of you, or they'll. And that's the same thing that you can do to duplicate that and turn the people that you do sales with. And it's no longer sales, it's relationships. It's focusing on that value so that this customer or client becomes your best friend, becomes your lead, and you want to treat every customer that you talk to, anyone that you interact with, as your friend, right? So I love that point where what Scott mentioned, where you're here to serve them. If we can figure out ways where we can uh, have that frame shift, because not a lot of us are conscious about what we're doing, but if we can make that on autopilot, make that, I guess, subconsciously, where you're very focused on serving the customer, the profits will come, the fruits will come, right? So
Yep.
how can your veterans or those professionals who have a sales background, how can they who should they reach to, and how can they reach you in terms of attaining that frame shift? What is the first step that they can do to make that happen right now?
Well, the very, very, very first step is open your mind and look at, is what you're doing actually producing results you want, and why? So if it is and you're producing a lot of great results, okay, why is it doing that? Chances are good you're probably keeping your focus on serving. 9 times out of 10, especially if you have great retention, your people aren't going to other companies, your close ratio is over 80%. And if you're doing this right, your close ratio should be over 80% if the person is qualified. If they're not qualified and you're not taking time to qualify them, maybe that's an area to look at. Okay, what can I do to better qualify people? Um, but people can reach us. Like, we're going to be launching a lot of cool resources. We do consistent seminars. We're going to be launching one probably towards the end of the month here. It'll be fully online because of the whole social isolation. But even reading good sales books by a lot of the veterans, like, this information is widely accessible. We give a concentrated form for this frame shift for what we provide, but even things like Grant Cardone's stuff, a little bit of Ty Lopez's, anything that focuses on value selling or any books that focus on that will have good information. So whether you want to go through those guys, whether you want to plug into our specific boiled down and distilled information, it's totally up to you. But we can be reached through Facebook, Instagram, even through yourself. If anybody wants to connect with you, I'll provide you with a link. Um, but yeah, people should be just really taking this time to reassess what they're doing. Is it working? Is it not? And how can they learn more? Who can teach them more? What can they learn to better? Because the veterans that do well in sales are always learning, always growing, always
Yes.
applying. They don't have
Yes.
one specific thing that they stick with, one specific script or one specific tactic. They don't have that. They're always learning. They're always engaging. They're always reading new books, getting around new people, getting around better salespeople, seeing how they're talking to people, how they're interacting, and that's what people should be doing right now. If you want to get better at your sales career, learn, refine, practice, grow, serve.
Definitely. And again, for all those viewers out there who are currently watching this live or pre-recorded, there's nothing that's going to stop you guys from taking that first step. And I'm sure you heard this philosophy before. Don't mind me, I might butcher it, but like those who started 20 years ago are currently reaping the rewards. But the next best thing to starting in the earlier is starting now. And again, it is a big leap for you, for most of you that are currently watching and reading this. And the time is now. And I implore you guys to take that step, take that next stream of new skills to learn, and take advantage of this opportunity, because sales is a really big thing. And my belief is that if you are employed, it's not a bad thing. I don't bash on those kind of things, but you have to take your own life into your own hands, because the government can only do so much, your friends and family can only do so much, but you have all the power to make sure that you meet your needs.
Mm-hmm.
Sales is a very underrated skill that that hasn't really been brought up to in school, and especially like your common knowledge sources of information. But anything that has to do with a skill or exchange is sales, and this is something that you can work on for any skill level. And definitely, like, if you want to learn how to get started, it doesn't matter what skill level you are. If you're a veteran, you want to further increase and reinforce that skill and overall become more employable, not necessarily having to own your own business, but just becoming more employable. I'll have the link below, and you can definitely reach out to Scott, because Scott is one of the best sales trainers that I know so far in province, and heck, maybe this entire nation. So this is your best time, and this is your best opportunity, and I want to make sure that I open that door for all you guys.
Yep. Thank you kindly. And just to put one final touch on that, sales, I think everybody should know how to sell, whether you want to participate in sales or not. And I think the other downside is a lot of people look at sales like it's manipulation. And
Yes.
that's kind of what we're trying to go and shift the culture from. Sales is not manipulation. It never should be. If you're manipulating or you're finessing, I'm sorry, be offended. You're a bad salesperson. That's the way it goes. Like, you can be mad at me, you can scream at me all you want, but you shouldn't have to do that if you're properly adding value and you're properly selling. And so I kind of want people to stop viewing sales as manipulation. I want people to start viewing it as that value exchange, which at its very core is what it is when it's being done effectively. And you can take that skill set and you can apply it everywhere. Even if you just want your kids to pick up your toys, if you have sales skills, you can now sell them on the idea of it instead of just dealing with the whole do it or I throw them out. They'll both get you the result, but the kid's going to really appreciate one of them a hell of a lot more than the other one. Or, if you're asking out that cute girl or guy, or, if you're trying to get hired, or you're trying to even just make new friends or anything, you need to be able to have a proper value exchange. It's just got to be present. It's the core of all human interaction and human relationships. So, and yeah, I don't think there's any better place to learn it than sales.
Definitely, and I totally agree with you. Like sales again is a key pivoting moment for many of you guys. And I want to ask you another question just before we wrap things up because I know you're a busy guy. And for those who are at any skill level, what book or books would you recommend to get started? Because we do cover a lot of the foundation, but we want to make sure that we don't move on ahead without learning a solidified kind of things where, okay, how can we properly have that proper frame shift? So what books do you personally recommend?
Well, I mean, the core foundation of everything we teach is how to win friends and influence people. I think it's just a great book to learn really healthy human interaction. So that's pretty much the only resource I'll ever request somebody to read before I even look to train them. So part of our process when we decide if we're going to train somebody is, have you read this book or not? If you haven't read the book, clearly you're not serious. We're not going to train you. Sorry, I don't care how much you want to pay me. Read the book first, then we'll talk. But yeah, that'd be the core, and that's it's very easy to find. You can find it at any bookstore. It's made by Dale Carnegie. Anything by Dale Carnegie, really. But How to Win Friends and Influence People is probably my personal top recommendation, and that'll also help kind of shift your mentality into serving people and getting to and focusing on them instead of on you. So that'd be my top resource for people to check out. Whether you're,
Definitely.
yeah,
I think that's a really great way to start. Just make sure that like, okay, am I having my interactions right before I can move forward into a sales role or a sales career per se? But at the end of the day, it's like how I take it is if you want to do business or you want to have a certain, I guess, end goal for a certain process or interaction, just treat them like they're your best friend,
yeah.
right? So
When we do a sale, we call it 5-minute friend making. That person should feel like they're your friend, but after 5 minutes of interacting with them, if you're following the process properly, you're serving them, you're getting to know them, you're qualifying them, all of this stuff. And you should view this person as your friend. They're giving you their hard-earned money. You're helping them, you're serving them, you're giving them a product, you're giving them a service, you're adding value to their lives. You should view them at least warmly at the very, very minimum. Like maybe don't, invite them to your kid's wedding or something crazy like that. But I mean, it's called 5-minute friend making for a reason, and that's one of the actual topics we teach on. So
definitely awesome. So I believe that wraps it up for sales. So is there any final touches that you want to bring up, Scott?
yeah, so just a super super quick recap of everything we went over. So the very first things people should do is, if they want to participate in sales, is understand your objective, understand
Yes.
the value you're going to provide, and create a strategy. That is the root focus. So start there. A good base resource is How to Win Friends and Influence People. And for anybody that wants to have access to a bit more resources, or even if you just have some basic Q&A, they can always reach me, Scott Smith, or Scott Smith 2030 on Instagram, or through LinkedIn, or through Salesmith Consulting, which is the company we run. Any of those avenues, and we'll always be happy to give people any information they need, whether it's free info or whether it's paid info, and we'll take the time to really figure out what's best for people that way too. So we're not just here to sell people on sales training, just as a final touch. So I also wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to host this call. Thank you to all the viewers who are choosing to tune into this. And yeah, any questions or concerns any of you guys have, don't be shy. Reach out.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. And this won't be the last kind of interview we have. A lot of value that I want to keep continuing sharing is because of you guys and what you guys want to learn is what fuels me. And knowledge is something that is very overlooked upon. But I'm a very big avid supporter of knowledge, and that it doesn't hurt to learn new skills, and it's good to get out of your comfort zone because you won't grow. So if you guys want to reach out to more sources of education and self-learning, uh, this is the best place. So feel free to reach out to me or reach out to Scott. We'll have the links below. I have my own personal private group, not necessarily just to marketing or just to sales, but overall the life or becoming an efficient human individual or professional, that you can learn things from health to fitness to sales to marketing or any business development. Um, Essentially, it's open to anyone that wants to take their life to the next level. So definitely, like the people that we interview are highly effective individuals who I personally vouch for, and they're the people that I only want best for you guys to learn, because you guys are the best and you guys deserve the best. And I hope these value nuggets that you've taken in the whole video really gives you a good, better perspective and approach in life, so that you can equip yourself and better reinforce the things that you need, so that you'll be better prepared for the next pandemic. So I'm not necessarily I would advise the next pandemic to happen, but I just want to make sure that you're prepared and you're equipped, so that it doesn't have a big effect or big impact into the streamline or schedule of your life. So that's definitely my take.
And I guess one final thing for me. Um, Anybody here that comes and connects with us based on this video, has questions, has concerns, I'm actually going to offer you a free 5 sales review. So
Oh
we'll
wow.
look at your last 5 sales. We'll do a free review of each of them and show you some areas and help you identify some ways that you can refine your process. Maybe it's your pitch, maybe it's your tactics, maybe it's your value building. We'll go through the whole thing with you guys, and we'll find ways that we can help you improve your salesmanship completely on the house, completely free of charge, and I'll even give you a free resource for it as well too that you can
Wow.
download and use at any time. So click the link.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I would definitely jump on that, on that offer. And that's something that, like, it's free, it's complimentary, and worst case scenario, you still get free information. So any information, any knowledge is never going to hurt you. It's going to improve you. So don't be
Yep.
shy. We're the most non-judgmental and open-minded people, and we're just here to help you guys out.
And for those who may be curious on the qualifications, try the advice, see if it helps. If it does, there's my qualifications. Anyways, until later, thank you so much for taking the time to host this, Kim, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how you guys continue to grow.
Thank you so much, Scott. So again, link in the bottom below, wherever it is. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everyone, for taking your time to view this video, and I wish you guys the best.
Awesome.
All right, peace out.